Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with the boys, Martin and Kev. Two shows in a row, boys, and we
Hmm.
are here to preview Aston Villa versus Arsenal, the massive game, Saturday night, 5:30 kickoff. Before we get into it, make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscribe button. Boys, we're very, very close to 4,600. We know we want to get to that big 5K. You guys can help us get there, so make sure you like, subscribe, get your comments in, tell your friends about the channel, help us get to 5K, and to start us off, welcome to our new member Stephen Nieto, who has become an official Villa Park Pod follower. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you for your support. And if you do want to become a member, anyone else, click the link. It's pinned at the top of the chat. And yeah, follow the instructions there. Just $1.99 a month, less than a third of a cost of a pint, and you can become an official Villa Park Pod follower. Kev, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good, Richard. I'm eagerly anticipating our next match as we go the season unbeaten, following Arsenal from the Invincibles. And what better team to do it against than them themselves? No, I'm good, mate. I'm full of positivity. Great start to the season. Great pod the other night with you guys. Loads of positive stuff going on, loads of transfer buzz, which I'm sure we'll talk about some of that, people's pros and cons on certain situations. And yeah, in this maelstrom roller coaster of life, at least the Villa kind of keeps me smiling. So yeah, that's good.
Class. And Martin, great to have you back on. Two in a row, mate. How are you doing?
I know I need to start charging for all these appearances now. All good, all positive after a great weekend, obviously beating West Ham, and now coming into a big match this weekend. My dad apologised, and he's not going to be on tonight because he flew to Turkey today with my mum. They're visiting my granddad, so he said he'll put in a comment tomorrow, but he can't put it in this evening, so he's apologising to us all.
Is he
No,
getting
that's fine.
is he getting his hair done and teeth done when he's over there?
He might come back with a full head of hair. He is bald now, in fairness to him.
But he comes back looking like Ross from Friends, like everything.
Yeah.
That's all, that's basically what everyone goes to Turkey for. So yeah,
Absolutely,
be
yeah.
prepared,
That
Martin. Be
and the
prepared.
teeth.
Yes, exactly, exactly. You did say about the big game on Saturday, and that's what we're all here for. So, Kev, just before we get into the specifics, predicted lineups, all that sort of stuff, it doesn't come much bigger, really. In second game of the season, Aston Villa versus Arsenal, this is a mouth-watering game.
It's the top of the table clash, isn't it? It is. I mean, and I'm not saying that in my usual sort of slightly tongue-in-cheek way. This was two teams last season that were both finished in the top four up until probably a month or two before the end of the season. Both teams were in for a shout with the title. For them, it would be a great result for them to even get a point off us. Obviously, with last season how it went. And all jokes aside, this is a massive game. We won't get the credit from the pundits, as we said the other day. I think I mentioned the point about when Sky said, and no issues for the top last year's top three at the weekend. Could have just said the last year's top four. Would have been much more of an easier rounder kind of number when you consider Champions League qualification is top four. But anyway, yeah, it's massive, and for us to win the first game of the season, which we haven't done since 1871 or whatever, ages ago. What was it, 2014? Maybe we did that.
2015-16 season.
Yeah. So like nearly 10 years ago, to go into that season with a win, obviously this season with a win, and then to follow up with a home match, first home game of the season against a team of, let's be clear, of the quality and the size of Arsenal. It's a big opportunity for us to show what we're all about.
100%. And Martin, we did the double over them last season. We could argue stop them from winning the league. They're going to want to get revenge as well, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. And if I'm correct, we're the only team in 2024 to beat Arsenal. In the Premier League, of course, and that's huge in itself. I mean, that game against Arsenal away, the limbs in the away end from the fans when Ollie Watkins scored was just phenomenal. Like that was just incredible. I've never seen better limbs in my life. I wasn't there, of course, but just imagine just being there, you would
Oh,
be
mate,
lost.
honestly, I'm
You
gutted I
know,
didn't go.
yeah, like it was a great win First half probably a bit shaky that game, but the second half we are absolutely all over them and completely dominated. And hopefully we can do the same again this weekend. Maybe not a shaky first half, mind you, but probably dominate from the start and dominate at the end too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, why not? Why not? And lots of people have been pretty positive. We did the fans forum on Tuesday, Kev, and very, very positive towards the end when we did a little bit of Villa Arsenal chat.
Yep.
There's absolutely no reason why Unai Emery and the players can't, really go for this game.
With Mr. Emery in charge now, and it's not like it's been a couple of months. It's been a good pushing 2 years. It'll be 2 years in November, won't it? The one thing that he's done, alongside all of the wonderful things that he's done for this football club, changed the style of play, put a smile on our faces, qualified us for Europe in terms of the lowest competition, qualified us for the Premier competition. Of all of those things, slaying a few dragons of people we'd not beaten, for years and years, still a couple outstanding, Newcastle, you get my point, right? But the one thing I think he's done more than anything else is I think he's given me, and I would say a lot of Villa fans, a sense that we do not fear anybody. It's not that long ago that we had a manager, in fact, the manager that preceded Unai himself, who said that a team like Chelsea should be coming to Villa Park and wiping the floor with us. Well, imagine what he'd be saying about Arsenal's visit this weekend. And we know, we've all got memories. Even some of the younger ones on the channel will remember when Chelsea smashed us 8-0. Liverpool beat us 6-0. That was a cold winter game at Villa Park. I remember that one. We've had some heavy defeats over the years. We got to a point with the fan base the last few years where, if you're playing any of the big teams, you might have a plucky performance every now and then and get a draw, but you're probably going to lose. I remember the game at Villa Park against Man City when I think Watkins got a really good equaliser to start the second half and they scored that dream one end of the pitch to do a goal, Man City, and win it. That was it for Villa. It's changed. It's changed under Unai Emery. We had that unbelievable performance of probably our history, probably outside of the magnitude of the European Cup win in terms of actual performance against the opposition when we beat Man City 22 shots to 2. We beat Arsenal home and away. We won away at Spurs. We won away at Chelsea. We are now going into games and we are surprised if we don't put up a performance. And sure, everyone's going to have an aberration. Newcastle, first day of the season. Liverpool away wasn't great. Forest, we get that. But I don't care who it is now. And I said this on the pod the other night and I maintain it. I don't care if this was Real Madrid with Vinicius and Mbappe and Rodrigo coming to Villa Park, or if it's, if it's Crew in the cup. I don't fear anybody. Because we have got a manager and a squad and a quality of player now that means we can compete with any team, and the other teams know it as well.
Yeah. And Martin, just to touch on before we go into talking about Arsenal and their players, because they are obviously a fantastic side. First home game of the season, the atmosphere is going to be something special.
Oh, absolutely. And it's going to be that bit more special because Emery's playing against Arsenal. That is what it's going to be. These fans are going to get behind the players' back. They're going to get behind Emery's back. It's Villa Park now. It's not just a fortress. It's a place of fear into clubs. Like, you could imagine so many clubs looking at their fixture list going, when do I have to go to Villa Park? Jesus Christ. I have to go this weekend. I have to go that weekend. Oh no, I have to play Villa Park in the night. This is now an area that teams don't want to play in because of Unai Emery, because of the way we play football, because of the way now the fan base is getting behind the players, getting behind the manager, and the atmosphere has been completely different. Like with Gerrard, it was dull, and I was there when Gerrard was in charge. Obviously, it was dull. Maybe not the first game in charge against Brighton. That probably was the only time the atmosphere was good. But other than that, it was dull. It wasn't great. The football was boring. Dean Smith, yeah, the atmosphere was good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not this level of atmosphere. This atmosphere of like knowing the belief that we can be in the top four, we can be potentially in a title race if that needs be. I know it's a bit early in the season, but this is not just a fortress; it's a place of fear. And us as Villa fans now, and Kevin can't emphasize this enough, we don't fear anybody. We beat Arsenal and Man City back-to-back clean sheets last season, in Villa Park, and no one backed us at all. And pundits don't even talk about it, how
It-
Villa dominated Man City at home, 22 shots. Man City only had 2. And Gary Neville was saying in the game, I think it was when Arsenal were playing City, I've never seen anybody dominate Man
Yeah,
City like
I
that.
remember
And
that.
it was Villa.
I remember that.
And then playing against Arsenal, yes, very fair enough. We were probably on a bit of shaky legs after the Man City game, but we'd still done enough to beat them. I mean, look at our goal that we scored against Arsenal. It was Emery ball at its finest, from the back to midfield, one touch, everything. John McGinn, perfect touch to beat Saliba and put it into the back of the net. And it's just so refreshing now to watch this and going into a game thinking you're going to win the match. Doesn't matter who you play against.
And don't forget
Yeah.
as well, we won 15 home Premier League games in a row.
Yeah.
Across obviously the season before and then the start of the last season. And it ended against Sheffield United, didn't it?
It did.
I was
Nicola
at that one. It
Zaniolo
was
The
popping up with a
worst,
a
header.
chance to
Yeah.
go atop of the league as well that weekend too.
the worst team in the history of the Premier League, many have said, in terms of how they performed. And we nearly lost them, but football, funny old game, as Jimmy Greaves used to say. 15 home games in a row. I had no doubt they'll wanted to be getting back to that level of Fortress Villa Park. We had a couple of, when we were on our bare bones of the squad, bad defeats. Chelsea wasn't great. Newcastle, Chelsea in the cup, obviously Newcastle. Some performances that weren't great. So Brentford capitulation when we were 2 up, just about got a draw. So it'd be nice to get some level of winning pretty much every game at Villa Park.
Yeah. Yeah. Good timing, Martin. I was going to go through some comments. So, yeah, Ronan in there saying all the pressure is on Arsenal and the Villa bar staff this Saturday. Cameron as well in the chat. I'm going to the match on Saturday. First Villa Park match I've watched in 6 years.
Awesome.
Hopefully, we can get a great
Hopefully
result
it
for
wins for you,
you.
my friend.
Rich says, I'm hoping this is the first game to kick off the unbeaten streak like last season. Come on, Villa boys. Dicky says, Holten now is safe standing. Reminds me of the good old days. And Gary says, it's the Bermuda Triangle of the Prem where teams disappear.
Is that all of
Exactly.
the whole end being safe
No,
standing?
there's an area.
No, I think there's just certain area. Yeah, it's an area. But
Right.
yeah. So let's get into Arsenal and talk a little bit about them because Kev, they are a very, very good side, and they've not really. I think they're going to sign Mikel Marino and they've signed Calafiori, but they've also got Timber back fit this season. But still a formidable side, and Martin's picked out Havertz and Saka, who both scored on the weekend on the opening day. But they've got threats right across the team, haven't they? Particularly those two.
Yeah, they have absolutely. Look, we can talk about the FTV rivalry. They obviously we living rent free in their heads for some reason. They obsessed with Aston Villa, aren't they now? Which says a hell of a lot, doesn't it? Because if they're going on about Villa all the time, then clearly they're a bit rattled. But they're a quality team, and he's done an excellent job. I mean, I think he was very lucky to still be given the time he was given in the way the modern football is. But give him credit, they ran City ever so close last season. He's a bit of a moaner sometimes, isn't he? Old Mikel. But I always thought he was a really solid, good quality Premier League player. Obviously, he learnt his trade under Pep Guardiola, and you can't fault. They're the second best team now, clearly in the last couple of years. He's won the FA Cup as well, so you got to give him a bit of credit in terms of things that he's done. Can they take that step forward? That's the question now. Obviously, on seemingly all of the pundits' lips as well. Quality team. I think in players that don't get as much of a mention like Trossard, just absolute quality. I think
Yeah,
Trossard.
he always tends to come on and score, doesn't he? Or I
Yeah,
know Martinelli's been a little bit off the boil. I mean, we haven't mentioned Odegaard, very good
quality,
midfielder.
quality.
Declan
Defense.
Rice, obviously big signing for them last season.
Defense is great as well. I mean, let's be clear, like Gabriel and Saliba is as good as it gets, really. It's almost sort of Konza Torres levels. And they've obviously got Calafiori and Timber. They've got Zinchenko. They've got Ben White. Ben White might be like, might have a year's annual subscription used in a week at a sunbed place. But I tell you what, he's a quality.
I think he goes to Turkey every year.
He goes to Turkey every week by the looks of it.
Yeah.
But he's been absolute quality. The keeper, Ray, I think, has done really well. So across the team. But the interesting thing for this game for Arsenal is it's a much bigger game for them than it is for us because obviously, sure, they got a good win at the start of the season, but They play us away. They've got Brighton at home, and then they've got Spurs away and Man City away. Now, Brighton started the season like a train, the youngest manager in the Premier League and all that, right? So it wouldn't be a surprise if Brighton got a draw against them. They got to go to Spurs. They got to go to Man City. Like this, their title charge could be over by the middle of September. If City win all the games, obviously we'll win all our games, but you get my point. Like if you look at the run of fixtures, whereas previous years, them playing Villa would have been a bit of a gimme. It's a massive, massive game now.
It is. And Martin, Kev mentions there the defenders, Saliba and Gabriel. And Watkins has generally done well against Arsenal, hasn't he? I mean, he would probably be, if you asked Saliba and Gabriel who their toughest opponent is, I think Watkins would be up there.
Absolutely. I mean, Ollie Watkins has scored 5 goals now against Arsenal, and I believe that he's actually our top goal scorer against Arsenal in Premier League history. Dwight York was the closest with 3. I think somebody else had 3 as well. Couldn't remember the name, but that just goes to show that Ollie Watkins loves a goal against Arsenal. You seen his first one, I think, was maybe 2021 when we won 3-0. Then he goes and scores a goal at home, with obviously beating Saliba in a 1v1 situation. He scores then again away from home in the 2-0 win. That's the third one there. Can't remember exactly where the other 2 came from, but
he scored when we lost 4-2 as well at home.
He did it from the angle.
Tight angle. That was a great goal. That was.
That was the one against Saliba. Yeah, like obviously, it goes to show how far Ollie Watkins has come, because if you think about Ollie Watkins, maybe at the start, he doesn't do finishes like them or anything like that. But for some reason, coming up against Arsenal, it just feels like Ollie Watkins is like a Didier Drogba regen coming up against Arsenal. It's like it's just inevitable he's going to score a goal against them. And that just goes to show the level now Ollie Watkins is at. And I do believe he might be on the score sheet again. That's just probably a bit of a spoiler to my starting lineup. But I do believe that he will score against Arsenal again, because even though it's no secret he's an Arsenal fan, right? But for some reason, when he scores against Arsenal, he just celebrates so much. It's like, the way when you see somebody who supports a club and they hold back on their celebration a little bit. They still celebrate, but they just kind of hold back in it. He doesn't hold back whatsoever. He just goes for it.
I tell you what I like about Arsenal as well in like the recent times with us. So obviously we did the double last season, and we think we'd not been great. We had that 4-2 loss when Jorginho got the one off the bar, hit Martinez, all that, which was a plucky defeat. But if you remember, Martin touched on a couple of these games in the early part of our Prem return. We had the hoodoo on Arsenal, didn't we? We beat them. I think Watkins got a slightly deflected goal, didn't he, in a 1-0 home win, early goal, I think it was.
Yeah, that was in lockdown.
Yeah, that 3-0 you talk about, Martin, is one of my favourite Villa wins. That 3-0 away at Arsenal, when Barkley and Grealish were just taking the mick, basically, around the defence. We scored that great breakaway goal where I think Grealish absolutely bodies. I think it was Bellerin, wasn't it?
Like, and he literally
Watkins in, smashes it in.
Watkins got 2 that game.
He did that 3-0 game was just brilliant, and that was when Villa were not a top team, like only a year or so back in the Prem, and they were like supposedly like giving it large. So I love that we've kind of got that hoodoo back, and I absolutely agree that the Watkins situation with Arsenal, you'd have to back him. He's had his 60, 70 minutes, whatever he got at the weekend, not played much. He'll be chomping at the bit. He'll also be so proud in terms of the kind of guy he is, that Duran's getting all the plaudits. I'm the main striker. I got to show why
that's going to motivate him.
Yeah. Because if Duran comes on, if Watkins doesn't score, Duran comes on and scores a couple, he's going to be banging on Unai's door hard, saying you got to start me against Leicester.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kev, just quickly, we talked about Villa and Emery wanting to be positive going into this. How do you think Mikel Arteta potentially approaches this?
Well, I think they'll just be BAU, won't they, Arsenal? They've always been pretty sort of sticking to their guns in terms of how they play. But I do think there will be a little bit of nerves. I think Villa Park's going to be absolutely rocking. So many people want to prove a point. You've got he absolutely does. You've got and this psychological battle. I have got no doubt Emery will be playing on it in the dressing room. Think about all of the kind of the subplots, right? You've got our new extension. So the new extension for the world's best goalkeeper, that is ours. Can you believe he's ours, Martinez, right? He's ours, and we love him, right? And he's won everything now in international football, and they discarded him, didn't want him. Right, you've got Emery, they discarded, the fan base derided him. They're still talking about whether he's better than Arteta or not. Like, you should be bothered. Like, and he's at us doing the things he's doing with us. There's a lot of subplots. Watkins supports Arsenal, apparently. They've been linked with him. They wanted Luis, he's gone to Juventus. There's loads of little things going on. They were linked with Onana for quite a long time. We got him. So there's a lot of little subplots. And I just look at it and think, for them to come to Villa Park, they've got to do what they do, play to their strengths, but they'll be heavily possession based, obviously trying to get into the wide areas, technical tiki taka, like passing it around. But they'll be scared of us. And like I said, with the matches coming up for them, it's crazy to say game week 2, still in August, that the pressure's cranked up, but it absolutely
always
could be.
does, man.
Yeah,
Always
it does, doesn't it?
Always does. Captain Villa said, oh, I've just lost the comment. Captain Villa said, I'm just scared of Odegaard's through balls. Yeah, he's a very, very, very good player. I think this is, again, potentially tempting fate, but I do feel like we've kind of kept Odegaard quiet generally in the games. It might be the way that we're structured, the way that we play, but I think we've generally kept him fairly quiet. Before we get predicted lineups up, I do want to say, just make sure you smash that like button, people. We've got nearly 250 in the chat watching, both on X and on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, just click the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new. If you're on X, make sure you follow us at Villa Park Pod and at KTAVFC and at Marto Leonardo. If you want to give us any super chat or want to become a member, click the $sign, follow the instructions, and you can join the channel, or, as I say, you can donate with a super chat as well. So let's talk Villa. Let's talk potential players, match winners. We've mentioned Ollie Watkins. So, Martin, your lineup first, and then I'll put my lineup on, and Kev, you can have a chat about who you think will play. Guys, get in the chat as well about what your thoughts are. So, Martin, talk us through your lineup.
Yeah, I've gone with, obviously, Konza at right back due to the fact that Matty Cash has unfortunately maybe received a hamstring injury. So that's where now I feel that Konza will shift out there with Carlos and Pau Torres. And I'm not mad at Carlos probably starting, because he's actually shown in the big games that he can really perform. And obviously in the last game at Villa Park, he was man of the match, keeping Jesus quiet. And then I think this is probably going to be a game Ian Maatsen will start, simply because maybe to deal with Saka. I know Digne has done it in the past, but I feel like maybe a pacey left back can do it. And how he played against West Ham, being so high up, and the little cushion touch before the Duran goal, I felt he probably deserves that reward. But then again, that can be up for debate with Emery. We don't really know. Onana and Tielemans keeping their place together. I think they work so well together. They gel. There's a good chemistry. Onana just cleaning it all up, releasing the ball, winning everything in the air, so physical. And Tielemans just getting the ball, playing it through early, in between the lines to Bailey, Rogers, McGinn, and Watkins. And I think that front four is pretty much going to be cemented, Bailey being on the right. I think McGinn this time may play in behind Ollie Watkins this time. I did like Rogers in behind Watkins in the game against West Ham, but I feel like Rogers is more suited to being on the left-hand side of the pitch. And I feel like against Arsenal, where their right-back situation is either Ben White or Tomiyasu, because there's never really a clear right-back out there. So I feel like he can actually punish one of them right-backs if they are to be in the game. And then obviously McGinn being in behind the striker, I think would absolutely work well. He can probably keep Declan Rice quiet. He's just got such an engine about him. And that will allow Ollie Watkins to roam around in between Saliba and Gabriel to just get himself a goal.
Yeah, look, decent lineup, mate. And yeah, really well explained. I haven't changed much from that at all. It was a toss-up between Robin Olsen and Emi Martinez in goal, but I plumped for Emi Martinez. And then Konsa, Carlos, Torres, Luka Dean this time. I think he's coped pretty well against Arsenal in the past, and that experience Although, albeit I would not complain if Ian Maatsen was at left back, but I don't think Dini's done anything wrong in that last game to kind of warrant being dropped in quotes. And then everything else is the same as what you said. Onana, Tielemans, Rodgers, McGinn. You know, give or take the position in there. Maybe, like you said, it might be a little bit of rotation between Rodgers and McGinn in terms of picking up the ball. Leon Bailey out on that right hand side, and then Ollie Watkins up top. Kev, your thoughts on either of those lineups? Anything that you would do any differently there?
No, I'd go for your lineup. But I see all the arguments why Martin's done what he's done. I think it would be, for me, probably a toss of a coin, and I'd go 51% the experience of Digne. And the fact I don't think Digne's put much of a foot wrong. I think he's been great. I think the fact that we spoke about this with the whole Alex Moreno, God rest his soul. Who's
Oh, he's not dead, is he?
yeah, and another one like
That's another one. That's another one we're putting to death. We're after putting
Yeah.
Den Donker in the coffin. Now we're putting Moreno in the coffin. Oh, good Lord, help us!
Very,
Jesus, Mary, Joseph and the wee donkey.
Jesus, Mary, Joseph, and the wee donkey. Very, very heavy heart, obviously, with Alex Moreno. But the reason why I think a lot of Villa fans are so happy to see him go and get first team football elsewhere is because of what Luca Digne has done. I actually think if he didn't have Maatsen, I think, even the Villa fans would be quite happy for Digne to start ahead of Moreno. So just for that reason alone, I think I'd be happy to see him do it. If we're struggling, this is the great thing about it. If we're struggling with Saka, with 50, 60 minutes in, he can switch it up because we've got Ian Maatsen on the bench.
Yeah.
So it's great.
No,
And I think
I'm not. Yeah, no, look, I'm not doubting Digne whatsoever. Like, I just feel like I think this could be a good game for Masson to start. Like I wouldn't be
it's
against
absolutely
Digne
fair
starting.
enough.
I really
Yeah.
wouldn't. But I
No.
just feel like this would be a good game for him to come in.
This is the point, though, Mark. It's great having these options. We've just said there. Look at the match winners on Saturday. All three substitutes: Ramsey, Maatsen, and Duran. And then, so you could even argue maybe obviously Watkins and Duran, but you wouldn't argue with any of those players starting.
well, I was going
And
to say,
that's the strength of the squad. And then you had Ross Barkley, who didn't even get a game. You got Emi Buendia, who didn't even get on.
yeah,
Enzo Berenche didn't even make the squad.
Lowe's didn't. I was going to say, I think the only thing I might say difference is I think maybe Ramsey might start. Maybe for McGinn. I can't believe I'm saying it.
I don't see Emery making too many changes like that, but
he might not even make a change. To be honest, I think he probably will keep
I
it the
fancy
same.
McGinn to have a good game.
Yeah, I know, me too. But
McGinn,
I'm just saying,
McGinn,
I can't
does
see him
turn up
dropping.
these ones.
Can't see him dropping Morgan Rogers or Watkins
No.
or Tielemans or Onana. That's or Bailey because of what they offer. So that's why I'm saying this is the crazy thing about it now. Like pick which of your kids you want to put in the corner.
Well, look, we have a bench prediction from Paul. So he thinks the bench would be Digne, Costa, Mings, Gauchi, Berenche, Vides, Buendia, Ramsey, Duran, and Barkley. Like, that's a solid bench.
Decent bench.
My first thought when I see that is we've got too many players whose name begins with B.
Yeah, I know.
Not the Chelsea dressing room, Kevin.
The commentator's going to sound like an MC when he starts reading it out, isn't he? Vides de Buendia, de Berenechea. The alliteration is going to be going crazy.
Yeah. Sean in the comments says need to play Konza at right back for this one, Maatsen at left back. So agreeing with you, Martin. Jason said Watkins or Duran to start.
Yeah, that's another debate. Like, that's something that it is up for debate. I know. I mean, I know I harp on about how much I hate Duran, and don't get me wrong, I still do. But I was just saying his runs in behind against West Ham, the very first one, he probably should have put that away. He made really good, a good effort of his goal from the ball from Ramsey. That's not an easy finish to make. I know he was just a nuisance to the defenders. Like, they just did not know how to deal with him physically. And I think that's something maybe Ollie Watkins doesn't have to his game, is that physicality. Yes, he can hold up the ball. But he tends to drift out a bit more and get the touch away from the defender, where Duran has no problem sticking to that defender and making it an absolute nightmare for him. So that is something up for debate. But then again, with Ollie Watkins' record against Arsenal, it's too hard not to start.
I think Duran, just for this game, I think he will have an impact off the bench. You know what? It might not be bad to see both of them at some point in the game together. But Michelle says, I have a feeling Morgs will score 2, Bailey 1, and Ollie 1. So that's 4, just the 4 goals there. I mean, it
Jeez.
does show the
If she's
attacking.
given 4-0, I mean,
Yeah.
fair play to you. Fair play to you, Michelle.
Maybe 4-4, Martin. But it does
Yeah, it
show,
could be
Kev, the
4-4.
attacking prowess that we've got. I mean, even on Saturday, as we said before, we could carve West Ham open from various angles. You know, Bailey putting Booth through balls in, whether it's Tielemans moving the ball quickly, whether it's Rodgers running with the ball, Duran when he came on, Ramsey getting us territory as well. We've got lots and lots of dangerous players who can do stuff almost deceptively as well, like deceptively quick players or deceptively strong players,
Yeah.
which is so important.
Yeah, and you've also got Ross Barkley, who's got an eye for a goal, an eye for a pass. Emi Buendia didn't even get on the pitch.
Hmm.
So and obviously we're linked with another forward addition in the window still. So yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I look at this like do you know what I love about it? It's the dynamism of the team.
Mm.
We saw that whole average age of the team and that energy level. But you've got bombing on from left back Ian Matson. You've got Torres. I mean, we've not really. I don't know if you spoke about this, but when Torres did that marauding run into basically almost the
Oh,
Arsenal box, he did that shimmy he did. He'd be on Strictly Come Dancing. If he does that again. Did you remember it when he just kind of
Yeah,
faked to go and
yeah. We just thought,
set into the
what's where?
shops?
He just kept running and running, didn't he? You
Yeah,
know.
so he's bombing forward. You've obviously got the quality of Tielemans in terms
mm.
of like we say, just releasing it quickly, open up defenses. We know all about now what Duran can offer off the bench or to start potentially. Watkins, everyone knows about Ollie Watkins. Bale last season was brilliant. Philogene, highly rated. We'll see if he does it.
Yeah.
We've just got the armory across the pitch. So yeah, we can produce things. And of course, the other thing now is that aerially, corners, free kicks, we've got a real threat now in terms of. And obviously, if Carlos plays as well, you know, you're going to have some targets in that box to potentially score a goal. And
Mm.
let's be clear, when you play tight games against good teams, it can sometimes be a set piece that wins it for you.
But
Definitely.
it's not just going forward. It's also defensively. We've got a bit of physical presence, to clear the ball away now this time, which is something Rich has been crying out for years.
Well, look, it's such an important part of the game. You know, you look at 4 different phases. You've got obviously offensively in possession, defensively out of possession, and then you've got attacking set pieces and defensive set pieces. And we've tried to improve in all of those areas. And I think the last sort of area was probably the defensive set pieces, because attacking set pieces, we've kind of I guess our imagination, we weren't too bad off attacking set piece, but defensively against for set pieces, we looked a little bit all over the shop at times last season. So that's where I think, like you said, Martin, having that presence in the defense and having bigger players who can attack the ball and just be more physical will absolutely help us and give us way more security. Chris does make a good point though. Need to remember that Arsenal defence is arguably the best in Europe,
Yeah, it
and
is.
they are very
Mm.
good from set pieces as well. So we do
Yeah.
need to be really on our game.
Yeah, it's easy to get carried away, isn't it? Right, because obviously we're Villa fans. We've had a good win, and we're positive, and we're going to win the whole lot, right? Of course, but yeah, Arsenal are an excellent team. They could easily come to Villa Park and get the victory. Solid all over the pitch, defensively really good. That's why I think we'll have to be at our best to beat them, but we absolutely can do it.
We
Mm.
can, we
We'll,
can,
we'll be respecting them absolutely though.
100%. Well, let's just take a quick look at the stats in terms of Villa Arsenal as well. We like to have a look how we've got, and we've talked about some of the results that we've had recently. Head to head, 58 times we've played this game. Arsenal still leading the way with 31 wins. They've had 14 away from home. Villa have had 6 home wins, making a total of 13 wins, and we've drawn 14 games. Last season, as we've said, we did the double over them, 2 clean sheets, as well as Martin pointed out. Season before, Arsenal did the double over us, that 4-2 victory that they got in the last minute, and also the 2-1 win earlier on in the season, and then 1-0 as well at Villa Park, which was a bit of a drab game, I think. Look
Mm.
at their form from going in from last season as well. Imperious form, obviously beat Wolves on the opening day 2-0, fairly routine win. Villa obviously getting a really good win at West Ham. And we talked about the players and everything like that. So under no illusions, boys, it is going to be a difficult game. But as you've said, that kind of recent form, even the 3 or 4 seasons previously, we and the manager and Unai Emery over Mikel Arteta, Kev, it's definitely a game we can certainly be confident we can get something out of.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I do think that Arsenal as well, they're not absolutely impenetrable, are they? Like that we showed that last season. Martin, you kind of alluded to the fact that the first half was a bit nervy when we
Mm.
got the away win. I mean, it was a little bit more Arsenal than Villa, but I still felt we were pretty comfortable. In fact, they had a couple of chances, nothing absolutely like, oh my god, that was one amazing save from Martinez, but it wasn't like they were peppering our goal consistently. They had more of the ball than us. I felt that was the perfect away performance. Absolutely, you couldn't have written a better one on a script, because then we get the goal obviously towards the end of the second half, and then cement it with just like that unbelievable Watkins chip, and we actually could have scored more than them in the second half. We bossed that second half,
Yeah.
so
That,
they
that's
know they
yeah,
know
no,
what we can do. And also, you mentioned the Villa Park win again. We're on our last legs after the efforts and exertions of the Man City win, and yet still we were solid, we were strong. We did a classic Unai Emery ball goal from one end of the pitch to the other, which again was hardly talked about by any of the media. They just showed the last 3 or 4 passes in that move when they showed the goal. Like, it was unbelievable. So we can play, like, the passing game, and we can also play the direct game. We can play to all of our strengths, I think, against Arsenal, and I think we can be really confident of a win.
Yeah, and that brings you to a point where, do you think that we are going to play a high line against Arsenal, or are we going to be a bit more conservative and be a bit more closer to the goalkeeper for this one?
That's a good question, to be fair, Martin, because I didn't really notice on Saturday, Kev, too much of a high line. I didn't
No,
notice. I mean, yeah, he wasn't like a standout tactic in the game. I thought we were quite high up in terms of possession, and Gareth pointed out that we had, that kind of, was it 2-2-3-5 formation almost, with the kind of the full wide men pushing right up and almost kind of pinning them right back in possession, but having those wingers, wide defenders, getting back quickly. But I didn't notice us trying to beat West Ham in terms of offside trap. But maybe that was more down to West Ham's tactics. They quite resorted to long ball and stuff quite a lot. So I'd have to say I don't know. I don't know. I think we've become more adaptable to different teams' tactics now, and that might be a sign of things to come. What do you think, Kev?
yeah, I agree with you. Actually, I did. It may be just the way that West Ham played on the weekend, but it did feel a little bit different. It feels to me like maybe that Emery's learnt his lesson. We were getting caught out a hell of a lot with that high line, particularly towards the end of the season. Obviously, with the change of the offside, slightly means it might be a bit narrower in terms of some of the decisions and all that. So, um, and I just think Emery is going to be more adaptable. The team will be more adaptable. I think there'll be some teams that you'll play in, you probably will see the high line coming in and we'll just be mopping up possession all the time. But there'll be the ones where I think we can sit probably a little bit further back and play it the way we've done it. That formation tweak that obviously Gareth talked about in the Talking Tactics. Yeah, but I think it's been a hallmark of Villa in the recent year or two. I've been just studying so many times, particularly at home games, that when I'm like, it looks like we're playing like a 2-5-3 formation now. It looks like it's a 2-2-2-2-2 formation. It's just constantly adapting and changing. And that is the mark of an absolute pedigree, top quality coach who can change things in game. Hasn't just got one option at the start, and that's what you're going with. And yeah, so I would be very surprised to see a situation where they're constantly bombing in from behind, because I like to think, I don't want to say for certain, but those days of Villa fans sat there in front of the TV like this, watching people almost breaking the high line, nightmares of St James's Park on the first day of last season. I hope we're seeing that a bit less this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, really good point to make, Martin, because I do feel like the tactics are evolving, and it will be interesting, obviously, to go through that with Gareth on our Talking Tactics show. We are going to come back for predictions a little bit later, we're going to take a slight detour. We want to end with the predictions because I'm sure it is going to be very, very, very positive, judging by the comments. Make sure, though, guys, you smash that like button. We have nearly 300 people in the chat watching on X and on YouTube. Like I say, if you're on YouTube, it doesn't cost you anything. Hit the like button, but it really does help us grow. And we want to hit 5,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So if you're new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. And if you want to become a member, click the link at the top of the chat, or click the $ and join button. And also, if you want to give any super chats, donate to the channel, then your any donation is massively appreciated. So let's talk a little bit about this transfer rumors, because I did a transfer talk show yesterday, just rounding it up, and we actually talked about this on Tuesday night, Martin. Raheem Sterling, we talked and said, could he potentially become available for Villa? Would we consider him? And we kind of said, decent player, but probably not the right fit, and wages and all that kind of jazz. But now it's transpired, and it's been reported in the Times, reported by Jacob Tanswell as well, that we are actually in talks with him. So what are your thoughts on Raheem Sterling?
I don't think he's past it, right? And I think a lot of Villa fans I've seen on Twitter are probably saying he's past it. He's had a good career. I don't think he's past it. I just think he's at a club where there's too many players. Like there's no real structure to Chelsea, and Raheem Sterling has always been at a club with with structure. Liverpool, Man City, he was a starter and he knew his role and he was effective. Now, if there is a case he comes to Villa, he's coming to a structural club and he'll probably know what the system will be at Villa and he'll be able to flourish. But in the same sense, there has been a lot of talk with Filigani and Monchi saying they wanted a younger squad. They wanted a younger profile, more physicality in the team, and not to be paying massive wages. Now, look, don't get me wrong. If this is going to be a loan move, obviously it will be cut to a certain percentage to be able to suit Villa, which will not be a problem. Like, the lads are not silly; they will do that. But I just think that I'm not saying Sterling's past it, like I said again, but I just think this is not a move I don't think would suit him. It's because, in the sense of, it's a younger profile. Yes, he probably would be a good leader. He'd be a good fox in the box finisher, like he always has been for years. But I don't think that move suits him. The only move I can personally myself seeing suit him would be a move to a Spurs, a West Ham, or potentially going back to Liverpool. I just don't think a move to Aston Villa would suit Raheem Sterling, with the fact that we already have Jacob Ramsey, Morgan Rogers, and Leon Bailey. Is he going to come in and want to be a number one starter? Because we've got these players that are on board that all want to do that. Like, then are we stopping Rogers from projecting into this potential number one winger that we want him to be? Or are we stopping progressing from Ramsey being one of our own coming into the team? Or is it going to be a case of Leon Bailey's going to be rotated in and out when he's so effective? It's not something I think would suit him, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair. And Kev, I mean, a few people in the chat, Richard saying he's only 29, still got a lot to offer under a top manager. Jason saying sometimes strikers are good at a young age, then burn out in mid to late 20s. So I know I put a message out on X before, and I'd say 90% of those were saying absolutely not, no way. I think one or two were like, yeah, he'd be good. So what are your thoughts on Raheem?
Yeah, so my initial reaction when I heard that Chelsea were obviously open to letting him go, when there was the early rumours, was not for me really. I kind of feel like I feel about the Trippier of option being available, is that I think he's probably on the wane a little bit. I'm not saying he's cooked and he's finished and he's totally done, because he's 29 and he's 30 in December, so he's 30 this year, but still 29. But
like David Brent.
it is, yeah. I'm in my 30s. Yeah, 39. So yeah, and but he has got a lot of miles on the tank, isn't he? He's obviously broke through at quite a youngish age, and He's played a lot of games. His recent return hasn't been great in recent seasons. No more than I think sort of like 6 or 7 goals, if I'm right in thinking, in terms of like for Chelsea in the league. But on his day, he's quality. It's actually not that long ago, only 3 years back, he was probably England's best player at the World Cup. Scoring goals, was seen as the great hope, wasn't he? Scoring key goals. I actually do disagree with Martin slightly, somewhat, in terms of how I think someone like that could fit in, because I think he's a different type of player, isn't he, to a Ramsey or a Rodgers, maybe more pick it up deeper. I think he's plays a bit wide, a bit more direct, a bit more right up there at the top of the pitch sort of thing. But I do think for Raheem as well, if he looks at where he's at now, like we said, he's not had a great time of it at Chelsea. If he wants to be a regular starter, he probably needs to move to a Fulham or a Forest or an Everton.
Yeah.
If he wants to be someone that can play a lot more regularly, like, let's be clear, a lot of players would be when they're at Man United or Spurs or Aston Villa, a team that are decent and have got something to offer. Then he's not going to guarantee he's going to walk into the team and all of a sudden that's him done. I don't think Emery would accept that. But for me, if I'm instinctively looking at the type of option that he is, I want someone that's a bit more creative in terms of a number 10 type, an Odegaard type player, an Alex Buena, a Felix type, someone that can unlock the door, someone that's, can maybe be a little bit more sort of box to box potentially, that type of player. And I'm not sure Sterling is that, but like we've said many times, if Unai wants to sign Raheem Sterling, he wants to sign Alisson Hammond, he wants to sign maybe not Jermaine Genius, but you get what I'm saying, right? Then I don't care who it is, I'll back him, because I just think that Unai has done magical things. I've made his point before and I'll make it again. A lot of our current squad that we are lionising, we'd written off under Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Unai Emery.
Sharik says a front three of Sterling, Watkins and Bailey looks pretty good, to be fair. So yeah, it does. And we've had the Grealish chat as well. Someone, Gary saying get Grealish instead. So that's again.
Someone's banned it. Someone's banned that talk in this chat. Someone's banned that talk.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, look, I kind of said I didn't think I kind of agreed with you, Martin. I don't necessarily think it suits the profile that Unai Emery is going for, and I don't think it hits the kind of wage structure. Yes, fair enough. If we got him on a loan, people would be, Chelsea would be paying some of that. I'd imagine, but it's still signing someone on 300 plus grand a week, which is way above any of our players are on. So that would be my only sort of question mark. And with Man City, they had a very specific structure, and he generally was the player to finish off the moves. And whether he would be that player for Villa, because sometimes his hold-up play or his possession of the ball isn't great. Sometimes his passing isn't great, but he'd finish moves with getting into the box and being able to hit that one-touch finish. Although he did miss quite a few chances as well.
Yeah.
So I'd be a little bit wary of that, of like what he would bring in terms of the quality element. But look, it's interesting to see that players of the ilk of Raheem Sterling, Joe Gomez, international players that are at big clubs are now saying, "Oh, Aston Villa. Now we're in the Champions League. Oh, Villa, Unai Emery. Oh yeah, maybe I will go. Maybe I will consider Aston Villa, which is a blessing and a curse at the same time."
That's
you don't
something
want
I've always been
mercenaries, do
annoyed
you?
with.
You don't want mercenaries. You don't want players all of a sudden like noticing you now, because it's like someone who's lost a bit of weight and they start going out, and then all of a sudden everyone starts noticing them, and it's
I was expecting that
was the
comparison
same
from
person.
Kevin now, Rich, not you.
So someone's been on the Ozempic, and all of a sudden it's like, how you doing?
Yeah.
The thing I think is though, like, we've got no mugs at our football club now in terms of the football operations side of it, and also the marketing. Look at all the stuff that Chris Heck's done, etc., etc. So I feel supremely confident in everything that's going on. Sure, there's been a few things in terms of some of the ticketing and some of the fans being, maybe sort of alienated, and there's all that side of it. But generally, on most of the times with what we talk about the football club, how it operates, it's brilliant. I don't think we'll get hoodwinked by a mercenary. I think they'll know exactly what type of profile they're after, and we will basically veto anybody like that might be put forward by any kind of rogue agents. So yeah, that doesn't really bother me. My thoughts, I'd say, finally on Sterling are: if we can't get any of our other targets, and it gets towards the end of the window, and it's either Sterling or no one in terms of availability, I do think he would be an asset to our squad. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think if anyone says he's not, if Bailey gets injured, I think you change your mind.
Yeah.
So, like, and I do think that, but I would rather us take someone else in. And I also think if it is a loan deal and you're paying just a percentage of his wages, then I think it probably makes a lot of sense. I don't think I'll be on board with the perm deal. The age he's at, and probably the wage sort of situation. But if it's take Sterling as an option or don't have anybody else to add to your squad, I'd probably take it.
Yeah, looks fair. All fair points, boys. Also linked with Samu Amadorian, and I did talk about him the other day. He's an Atletico Madrid player, 20 years of age, 6'4". Obviously similar profile to, I'd say, a John Duran. He was on loan at Alaves last season, got 9 goals. I must add, those are statistics. I don't know a huge amount about him. Some of my friends are saying, to be honest, they watch kind of European football, they would rather keep John Duran than bring this guy in. John Duran's got a higher ceiling, better player already. Would this player potentially coming in be a sign that the Duran deal to wherever isn't dead? Would Duran be used as a bit of a make weight in a Sterling deal and then bring Amadorian in as well? Like, what are your thoughts here, boys?
Chelsea don't need any more players, do they? So
No, they don't. They
Duran,
don't.
if we can get Duran,
Well, they've let
Dendoncker,
Brozier go, haven't they,
and
to
Alton.
Ipswich?
Yeah, but they've still they've still
Yeah,
got like two.
true.
I mean, Maresca did his interview the other day, didn't he? And he was like, I don't know why everybody says that they still talk about us. And he's like saying we've only got the 24, 25 players, but you've still got 17 other players registered to the Chelsea FC that are on massive contracts. So listen, it makes a lot of sense normally to think about some kind of swap deal, but Chelsea need to be getting rid of them. They need to be giving us Sterling and probably a couple of other players just for free, just to get rid of them. But then we're in the same situation. We've got, like we said, Ealing Junior, Berenachea, Moreno couldn't get in the squad. So we've got this. I mean, Lamar Bogart's just signed a new deal.
Yeah.
Is he going to be someone that's going to be on the bench soon? But. So we don't need to stockpile players. I think we need to get rid of still quite a few, you could argue, and it needs to be bespoke bringing in. This Samu Amuradori, however you say his name, he's an absolute beast from what I've seen. Physical as anything. But is he better than Duran?
Well, look, we might buy him and send him out on loan. There's always that option as well.
Yeah, well, and obviously Chelsea were after him as well, weren't they? This was the whole point with the deal with obviously Gallagher initially. So you would think that he must be half a decent player, but then you think about some of the dross that Chelsea have signed, maybe not. Yes, I don't know. I mean, he's highly rated. You just trust in all of the kind of instincts people have got about him. He did obviously have a decent-ish season at Alaves, but he hasn't done much. I think he's ever really played much for Atletico.
No.
So, and if it meant get rid of Duran to get him, I don't know. If it depends what the deal is. If it's you get him in for way cheaper than you sell Duran for, Duran's desperate to go because he wants to start. There's obviously a lot of things in the background we don't know. Maybe Duran's demanding first team football, or I'm going to kick off. So who knows? But it's exciting to be linked with these type of players. But I'd love it to be a Buena type, Nico Williams type profile, who I saw was linked together with Arsenal today.
Yeah, Rich says you're on form tonight, Kev.
Thanks, Rich.
Loving it.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Just to round off on the transfer talk, do you see us being busy in this window, Martin, still? Do you see kind of 2 or 3 players coming in? Obviously, Kev talked about players going out as well, like Moreno's gone out and 1 or 2 other players probably going out on loan. But do you see us being busy? The here trader, I think that's how you pronounce it, has gone a bit quiet, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, how do you see the window progressing?
I can definitely probably 2 in, 2 out. I can see probably with Moreno gone, I think that kind of cuts that one there. So I think Carlos goes, and we're bringing in another defender and an attacking player. So that's something I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Kev,
Yeah,
maybe another. We signed that Kane Taylor. Maybe a couple of youngsters come in. Rory Wilson. There's talk of him going because he hasn't signed this contract apparently as well. So I know they're not trouble in the first team as such, but would you? Yeah. Do you see much movement in this window now still?
I don't know what the situation is with West Brom and if they've got any good youngsters we can nick.
Yeah, we'll just take them again.
Yeah, if they've got like 3 or 4 youngsters available, then I'd expect us to.
Or ex-Villa players that have gone to Man City,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
we
yeah,
can just get them back.
yeah. Jack Grealish. Sorry, I won't do it. I'm not going there.
Well, lads, I have to go. Okay.
Oh, top man, Martin.
Cheers, Mark.
See you
Take it.
later.
All right. Bye bye.
Yeah, I think that for me the ones that are sticking out still are the right back, centre back, cover, starter. You could argue if you get the hair to do doing, and that attacking option to replace a Diaby. Because if you're replacing Diaby with Philogene, then you're not replacing like for like really. You might be replacing potential for proven in terms of Diaby, but I wouldn't be that confident going into a Champions League campaign. Are they banking on the fact that Ramsey's back fit now to replace that? But you sell Diaby, I would expect us to bring someone in attacking wise, someone in. It's amazing to say with Aston Villa, by the way, for all of our issues over the years, that I'm really happy with the midfield. Really
Yeah.
happy.
Oh
Great,
mate,
isn't it?
I'm buzzing about it. I'm absolutely buzzing about it. And if anyone, I think for Sky Sports, because with the live game, obviously, Onana's done a nice interview with the Sky interviewer, and it's really good. And he just comes across as such an intelligent guy,
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
and a guy who really knows himself as well. So not someone who would have just turned up to Villa and gone, or just looked at his agent and gone, who's paying the most money or whatever. He's really looked at who's going to be the best for his career. I mean, I can be a little bit cynical about players and stuff going to clubs and signing for clubs and then giving it, oh yeah, I wanted to be part of this project and all that kind of fluff that they talk. But he has really, you can see that he has really looked into what is going to be the best for his career and which manager is going to bring him on the most. And look, there's early signs that he is going to be an absolute game changer for us in that midfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think he's been, just so held back probably in terms of how Everton play. And I've always got to say, like, I always did think he was a good player. I know it's easy to say that now we've got him, but I remember like seeing him at Villa Park, even in games when we beat them, and I remember thinking he's pretty handy. He is. He looks decent. Looks like he's got a bit of quality. Obviously, he's been starting for Belgium, which is no mean feat. And yeah, it's just such a good sign, and it's a sign I think of our transfer work and how quality it is now. Which is why if you get a rare case like a Chukwuemeka or like a Rory Wilson, perhaps where they don't want to stick around, that is the exception rather than the rule. Normally they want
Mm-hmm.
to stick around. They bought into the project. I mean, Lamar Bogart's not saying that, is he? And
No, he's been
plenty of
rewarded 4-year deal, 20 years of age. He's probably going to get first team football as well at Villa this season.
yeah.
If he gets 4 or 5 games in the Premier League, someone's going to pay 20 odd million for him at the end of the season.
Absolutely, and this machine now is well oiled and working really well. We've said 100 times before, but name them again. Cameron Archer, Aaron Ramsey, Philogene to then get him back, Omari Kellerman. Even making you bits of money here on a Keenan Davis, or obviously what's his name that went to Celtic, the keeper.
Oh,
Uh, uh,
Sinisalo.
Sinisalo, yeah, obviously the guy who was on loan at Exeter last season. So Deontay, the predictions, man, love it. 1 of 1 for me, Deontay, 2-1 predicted. But yeah, so I just feel really confident in his transfer situation. I do think there is a bit of tidying up that he's doing there. A few people have said this in the chat. I do think it's probably time for Carlos to leave, but only if we replace. If
Yeah, well,
not, I
this is
think
the thing. It's the
he-
right back, the right centre back, that kind of positioning. Nedeljkovic is here. Is he a real good enough understudy to Cash, and a, is Cash the ideal number one right back? I know if Sam was on the panel, he would definitely say no. So is that Is that the area?
Yeah, I think it has to be. I mean, I think if you look at like we like Cash, right? We do. But if you're coming up against like I don't know, one of the Real Madrid wide players or Serge Gnabry or someone in the Champions League, and you're up against Cash, you're a little bit, covering your eyes, aren't
It's
you?
just if you ask him to do one specific job. So let's say, for example, he is fit for Saturday, and you say, right, stop Martinelli or stop Trossard, and that's what you do. He will do it, right? But then you will sacrifice the attacking
Yeah,
ability for him. If you say to him, right, you're against you're better than this. We want you to attack on the right hand side and link up with Leon Bailey. He'll do that, but then he'll neglect the defensive duties. He's good at those tasks. Don't get me wrong. It's just being able to do both of them, just multitask to a high level. That's
yeah,
that's the issue. You look at Digne, right? He is a good all rounder, isn't he? He's
yeah,
got an ability with the ball. He's not the quickest, but he can move forward, and he can also defend pretty well as well. So you can kind of get away with it with it because he doesn't let you down. Whereas with Cash, you ask him to do one specific job, he'll do it fine. But you ask him to do two or three things, step into midfield or overlap Leon Bailey and defend as well, that's where he kind of struggles just that little bit, and that's what you need to have at the top level.
yeah. He doesn't bum on enough, particularly with his pace, particularly considering he was a winger. He cuts back inside too much, and it's frustrating. But I've got a lot of love for Matty Cash. I think he's been
Yeah,
great for us.
well,
You
he
know,
just he's again come through the ranks. He's come
yeah,
through at Forest. He's come into a Villa side and improved us, and then he's gone into he's worked his way back into the team, got into Europe. He's scored crucial goals at times as well. Like he obviously got the equaliser against not the equaliser, well, the equaliser on aggregate against
yeah,
Lille.
he did, yeah, yeah.
So look, he's done some really good things as well.
Yeah, obviously got a couple, didn't he, in the game early on last season against
Yeah,
Burnley. Everyone put him in
yeah,
their FPL team, didn't do anything else after that. But
yeah.
I'm thinking, why haven't I got Cash in my team? But this is the thing about our evolution as a club. It's the talk has already started about, and I feel horrible saying it, but oh my god, how much longer? If we keep going up and up and up and up and up, you're going to get it soon with a lot of these players. Who's the absolute never ever you're going to question? Martinez,
Wait,
Watkins.
just signed the new deal.
Yeah, you're going to get some of these players, but there's going to be a few. Your fullbacks
Conte,
are
you won't question.
cons you won't question, but your fullbacks you probably are. Are we going to get to a point in a year or two where we're going, oh, can we do better than Tielemans? It's crazy as it sounds, but this is, I can't believe I'm saying this kind of stuff, but, this is what we're talking about. Because you wouldn't have thought, would you, that, clubs like Chelsea 2 or 3 years ago would be saying Raheem Sterling, Ben Chilwell out the door. So, yeah, I think if we want to give this season, we've got a real chance. We've got a real chance. City aren't as strong as they were. I think they're still an absolute quality
Man,
team.
that's a big call.
I don't think
They
I
look
don't.
pretty strong to me on Sunday, bringing Phil Foden on at half time.
Yeah, but okay. I don't know if they're going to replace. If they don't replace Alvarez, right, then they're an injury from Haaland away from having a problem in attack. I know they can do the false nine type situation, but I thought Haaland and Alvarez was just absolutely brilliant, right? And they're going to get Gundogan back, but you know what I mean. Like De Bruyne is a bit
No,
old.
I get what you're saying. I do get
Yeah,
what you're saying.
Edison's had his
Yeah,
injuries. Like
yeah.
they're not as infallible as they were. And I'm not saying we're going to win the league. We are going to win the league, right? But for us to have a go again, and how do you know what? Of all the bluster about what Villa could do, if we can finish in the Champions League positions in consecutive seasons,
Oh, it'd be
it,
huge.
it's huge for the club. So you've got to take your opportunities when you're in this kind of situation as a club. It's why we're also pained about the Olympiacos defeat over 2 legs, because that was a real moment in time opportunity. Leicester went on to win the league rather than losing it to Arsenal or Spurs. Greece won the Euros when they weren't fancied. Can Villa, in this period where Liverpool are a bit uncertain, West Ham have got a lot of new players and maybe they won't kick on like they think. Newcastle, mate, you get my point. Man United are what they were. Can we cement this top 4 position? But I do think we'll regret it if we don't bring in a real solid quality CBRB, centre back, right back option and some kind of attacking option.
Yeah. Heartbreak Kid has just come in with an interesting comment now. I'm not going to bring it up, but interesting, very interesting comment. are going to get predictions in, and I've already got some very, very, very confident predictions. Before we do, to finish off the show, please do smash that like button. We've got over 100 and well, we've got over 300 people watching still. Over 100 of us watching on YouTube, which is fantastic. So please hit the like button. I think we could get to 75 likes at least on YouTube. So smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're new. And I want to shout out our sponsors, Football Prizes. Don't forget to get your ticket and be in with a chance of winning a signed and custom LED framed Esri Concert Aston Villa shirt, plus the chance to win 15 instant prizes. Two of them being an Ollie Watkins and a Jacob Ramsey signed and frame shirt as well. So ticket is just $3.95. There's only 299 tickets available. So you've got an excellent chance of winning. The competition ends on Thursday, 29th of August, and the draw will be on Friday, the 30th of August on their Facebook page at 8:30. So yes, go to footballprizes.co.uk. I've put the link in the description and search for the Esri Concert competition and purchase your ticket from Football Prizes.
How awesome is that? Awesome, isn't it? What a
Fantastic,
prize.
mate. Fantastic.
Yeah, brilliant.
So let's go with some predictions before I get yours, Kev. So Carly is saying 2-1 to Villa. Jason saying 2-1 to Villa. Deontay's potentially giving yours away, so I'll read
He's
that
wrong. He's wrong.
in a
That's
bit.
what.
Okay.
That's what I said for West Ham, and I got it right.
Okay.
But that's not what I'm going for
All
this
right.
weekend.
Okay, so we'll get that. So Deontay's predicting 2-1. Gary saying 2-2. The Hype Panda is saying 2-1 Villa. Sean is saying 4-0 Villa. Heartbreak Kid, thank you, mate. Big up the chat. And James is saying we'll S-House our way to a 1-0 win. Stephen, our newest member, is saying 3-1 Villa, and he's gone for the scorers Watkins, Bailey, and Emi Buendia. John is in the chat, says 1-0 Villa. Chippy Bailey is saying 3-0 Villa. And Rich Edwards is saying 2-0 Villa. Clean sheet for Emi Martinez and Watkins and Bailey with the goals. So come on, Kev. What are you saying for your prediction?
I'm with Chippy Bailey. I think it's going to be Aston Villa 3, Arsenal 0. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's scoring?
So my prediction is going to be Ollie Watkins. He's going to get his season started. Morgan Rogers, and I know I question whether he might start, but I don't know. I feel like now John McGinn's going to get one of his trademark pile drivers and wheel away doing the
Yeah, he doesn't mind a goal either against Arsenal, obviously. Ronald says Villa 4, Arsenal 1. So look, everyone is so confident. Engine number 9 says Villa 3-1. I only think Gary has predicted a draw. I think we've had a couple of Arsenal fans in the chat, obviously picking an Arsenal win. Paul is saying 7-1 Villa. We love Paul's predictions. We absolutely love them. Watkins with 4, Bailey with 2, and John Duran with 1. I'm gonna say, go on, I'll be positive. I'm gonna say 3-1 Villa.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. I think Duran will come on and score. I think Watkins will get the first. I think Leon Bailey will get the second. I think Arsenal will score, put us under a bit of pressure, and then John Duran will come on and score the clincher to make it 3-1 to Villa and take us top of the table.
Rich, I just feel like a statement win's coming. We've had a few statement wins under Unai, but a statement win at the moment with our way Arsenal are, it would really sort of put the sock in their mouth, wouldn't it, and shut them up a little bit. AFTV would love it, wouldn't they, if we beat them? They'd love it. They'd love it.
Well,
If they
it
beat
would
us,
put an end to that debate that they've been putting on social media anyway.
Oh, they'd have some excuse, wouldn't they? Something.
Yeah. Or Arteta he had a better XG. XG would come out of it.
Yeah, or VAR wasn't working, or there was some kind of conspiracy. Look, it's a massive opportunity for Villa, irrespective of the opposition, to, first home game, Villa Park. You know, I think it's quite interesting actually when you did the stats, the sort of head to head, and it showed the last 5. Villa's last 5 league games, this record's pretty shoddy, isn't it? 2 defeats, 2 draws.
Yeah.
But it says a lot about Villa that we just basically didn't really give them too much of a hoot, did we, at the end of last season?
No.
We would have if Spurs had won one more game, but we were so running on fumes
Well,
that
someone made a great point as well. Like we talked about the goals conceded. I think it was like 61 or something goals conceded, but 10 of those goals were the first
yeah,
game of the season and the last game of the
yeah,
season, and we
yeah.
certainly didn't care in that last game of the season whatsoever.
Yeah, it is a really good point, but I think it's a mark of the kind of team that we are now under Unai that we've started this season. Performance against West Ham, I don't think any of the players will be like affected by the fact that we didn't win like those 4 games before. Well, what was it? We only won one of the last 5 games basically
Hmm.
of last season, whatever. So yeah, I think that it says a lot about Villa where we are now as a club. But I'm just looking up, irrespective of the opposition. Every game now at home, we've got to be fancying ourselves to win every single match at home, whoever it is, because we beat the top 2 at home last season. So I'm not saying we're going to do that, but you get my point. Like you should be fairly confident to do it. And hey, you start the season off well. We saw last season we had a really great start, nearly went top at Christmas, and it was that points haul that kept us in those positions to just about creep over the line. So yeah, I'm just feeling like a statement win, a fit, strong squad. People with points to prove: Watkins, Duran, some of the new signings. If Matson's comes in, Anana wants to, show what he's all about. Martinez just signed the new deal, so people with points to prove. And no one bigger than probably Unai Emery. So, and Arteta's probably got a point to prove as well. So, let's not forget about that.
Yeah, look, bring it on. Bring it on. What nice place to wrap it up, Kev. Great show. Thanks to Martin who had to jump off a little bit earlier. Thanks to you, Kev. Thanks to everyone in the comments. Make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already on your way out, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We want to hit 5,000 subscribers as soon as possible. We'll be back with more shows tomorrow. I've got Dan Potts from Football's 12 Man, one of my favorite podcasts, and he's also features on AFTV as well as many others. And we have what else have we got? I'm also going to be on his channel as well tomorrow, so loads of shows for me. And I've got instant match reaction, hopefully for a win, and our live match reaction across the weekend as well. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.